Have you ever felt that there is parts of the divine puzzle that just doesn't fit together, as if part of the sacred truth had been hidden, silenced, deliberately erased from the history? Today, I will tell you about a celestial being whose existence has been intentionally removed from official texts, an angel as powerful as Michael, as wise as Gabriel, but who was condemned to oblivion. Uriel, yes, Uriel, the angel of burning light, the watcher of the knowledge forbidden, the messenger who challenged the religious system itself. But why his name disappeared from the Bible? What truths did it reveal that resulted so dangerous to be allowed? This is not a simple story of angels. It's a crack in the walls of religious narrative, an echo of something greater that was undercover. And I warn you now, what you are going to discover in this video can be uncomfortable. Because once you open the eyes, you won't be able to close them, never. If you have faith and you believe in God, write in the comments on this sentence now saying, "The light of God can never be extinguished." Do it. Declare your faith. Let the world know that even there are awakened souls who do not fear the true. And if you're here, don't close this video. Still, stay with me until the end, because what I'm going to reveal to you can completely change your view on angels, on the sky, and what has really been hidden from us. If you believe in God, leave your like now same. It's not out of vanity. It's an act of faith. A silent sign that you are also willing to look beyond of the veil. Uriel is not a myth. He is a real figure who appears in forbidden texts, in apocalyptic visions, and in ancient traditions that have been discredited by the guardians of the official doctrine. This angel, whose existence was considered too dangerous to be disclosed, it holds secrets that connect to sky, the final judgment, and the divine wisdom. But to understand it, we must start where everything was manipulated, the scriptures. Great mysteries are not always found in what is written, but in what was omitted. Uriel, whose name means the light of God, or fire of God, does not appear in the Bible that the most of us we know. He is not next to Miguel in the battles celestial, nor alongside Gabriel announcing sacred births. No, his history was relegated to the margins, hidden in texts that were labeled as heretical by the ecclesiastical power. But there it is, in the shadows of the apocryphal books, in ancient manuscripts that survived censorship, in the oral tradition of wise men who refused to forget. In her Book of Enoch, Uriel appears as one of the 4 great archangels who are always before the glory of God. It is not a secondary, it is a lead actor in divine plans. According to this ancient text, it was Uriel who descended of the heaven to warn Noah about the flood. It was not a vision anyone, it was a mission direct of the heaven, entrusted to the angel who carries the light of the true. Because then this story was removed from the official canon. Why was it considered dangerous to show an angel with the power to reveal catastrophes before they occur? The most theologians, ancient it they knew, who controls the messages of the sky, control the faith in the land. Uriel also appears in the Apocalypse of Ezra, another text rejected by the church. He acts as a spiritual guide, explaining the mysteries of the soul and of the final judgment of the prophet, a role reserved only for the highest emissaries of God. But with time, the Uriel's name was disappearing from the pulpits, from the sermons, from the prayers. His memory was reduced to a legend, and yet the evidence continues there, in ancient codices, in Byzantine iconographies, in the forgotten domes of churches medieval, where you can still see an angel with an open book and a flame in the hand. Who decides what part of the divine we can know? What can human authority erase a celestial being like Uriel? The answer may be in the texts that the church preferred not to canonize. Because there, in those ignored scrolls, begins to reveal itself a different face of the sacred. And if we follow that trail, what we find could shake the foundation same as the biblical story. In the forbidden corners of sacred literature, where the true, it was locked away for centuries, Uriel's name shines with a disconcerting intensity. It is in these apocryphal texts, those that the church rejection of the biblical canon, where Uriel is revealed not as an angel more, but as a celestial entity with unique and disturbing functions. Let's get started with the Book of Enoch, a text considered sacred by the early Christian communities, but then excluded by the ecclesiastical councils. There, Uriel is not only a messenger, he is a watchman, a judge, a transmitter of heavenly secrets. He is the one who shows Enoch the heavenly dwellings, who reveals the punishments of the fallen angels and allows you to glimpse the hidden gears of the divine universe. But there's more. In Apocalypse of Ezra, also known as Iphor Esdras, Uriel is sent by God himself to answer existential questions of the prophet. Why suffers the righteous? Why does the wicked prosper? What is the final destination of the human soul? Uriel does not offer simple answers. He guides Ezra through profound, complex and symbolic visions. He becomes an intermediary between the eternal and the human, a figure who does not impose but reveals, questions, and illuminates. And that, precisely that, was considered dangerous, because an angel who awakens the consciousness threatens the power that feeds on the ignorance. That's why his image also appears in grimoires medieval, in alchemical and Kabbalistic texts, where Uriel is described as the angel of the revelations burning, the bearer of the fire that illuminates but also consumes, the guardian of hidden keys that only the initiated could grasp. Even in certain esoteric circles, he is considered a secret instructor of prophets and mystics, a being who manifests himself when the humanity is on the verge of a transformation. But what motivated the religious authorities to so carefully suppress his figure? Why tolerate Gabriel and Michael, but not Uriel? The answer begins to take shape when we understand the kind of knowledge Uriel was delivering. It wasn't comfort. It was revelation. It wasn't obedience. It was enlightenment. And as we will see in the next chapter, the secret missions that are carried out entrusted reveal that their presence in the earth was not accidental nor passenger. Not all of them angels are sent with trumpets nor swords. Some descend in silence, with a single mission, to awaken the awareness. Uriel is one of them. While Michael leads armies celestial and Gabriel announces great births, Uriel walks among the shadows, carrying the fire of the divine wisdom. Its light is not for everyone, only for those who are ready to see it. Occult scriptures claim that Uriel was sent by God to fulfill delicate missions, reserved only for those who understand his secret language of darling. One of the best known is his warning to Noah. It was Uriel who came down and revealed the imminent flood. While the men mocked and sinned, he whispered in my ear of the just a truth that would change the history of the world. Not it did with lightning, neither prodigies, that did with knowledge, with precise direction. In other sources, Uriel is referred to as the angel who guided John the Baptist during his childhood in a desert, like an invisible mentor. A spiritual guardian, can you imagine? As John grew up, preparing to announce the coming of the Messiah, a light protected and guided in occult. They attribute interventions at critical moments of the humanity. Kabbalistic texts maintain that Uriel was the angel who gave Moses the key to the name ineffable of God, a knowledge so powerful that it could divide the sea and topple empires. And it doesn't end there. During the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, it is said that Uriel did not participate as an executor, but as an observer, a silent witness who collected the data of the divine judgment. Because unlike others angels, Uriel does not act by violence. He acts by revelation. Each appearance his responds to a rupture between the human and the divine. When knowledge is lost, when the faith is corrupted, Uriel appears as a beacon in the darkness. But their presence is not always welcome, because where he arrives brings destabilizing answers, shocking revelations, structures, and truths that not everyone wants here. Uriel was not made to lead armies. He was created to illuminate the sleeping conscience of the humanity, and as we will see below, that light, when touch it forbidden, it becomes in threat to the powerful. There's a reason some secrets never come out, were intended for everyone. In the esoteric tradition, Uriel is not only a messenger, it is a guardian, not of physical doors, but of gates of the understanding. Your fire does not burn the meat, but it burns the certainties. Some ancient texts suggest that Uriel was who seal he Eden after the fall of Adam and Eve. And what was he who placed the fiery sword that protected he access to the tree of life? Do you realize what that means? Uriel was appointed as the watchman of the eternal knowledge, he who made sure that the humanity did not access the secret of the immortality after have tried of the good and evil. He did not punish, he guarded. In the Kabbalah, it is attributes the mediating function between the man and the sacred fire of the knowledge. It appears in mystical diagrams as the spark that ignites the Bina, the divine intelligence, an energy that, if not channeled with purity, can destroy the initiate. In the Gnostic texts, Uriel represents the flame that awakens the trapped soul in the material world. Their role is to guide the pneumatics, the souls who still remember his celestial origin, towards the hidden truth. But this kind of knowledge always was frowned upon by the established power, because an enlightened humanity cannot be manipulated. A consciousness wake-up does not blindly submit to dogmas. A believer who understands does not need intermediaries, and so it converts into a threat. During the Middle Ages, mention Uriel in certain circles was to risk the excommunication. He was linked to heresies, mystical movements, and even practices prohibited, not because was evil, but because he brought light where it was appropriate for light to rain darkness. That is why his figure was relegated to the occult, forbidden, to the forgotten, because Uriel represents the fire of awakening, the torch that burns in the cave of the soul, the spark that can break the shackles of centuries of silence. And in the next chapter, you will discover who was in charge of turning off that call, and why. Silence, sometimes, screams louder than 1,000 voices. During the first ages of Christianity, Uriel was recognized, venerated and cited by entire communities of believers. He appeared in accepted texts, in prayers, and even in temples dedicated to the archangels. But everything changed in the 8th century. Was so when the Council of Rome, under the leadership of Pope Zachary, took a drastic decision to prohibit the cult of all angels who were not there explicitly mentioned in the canonical Holy Scriptures. Thus, only Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael were preserved, and Uriel was eliminated, silenced, deleted from the official imaginary as if never would have existed. The reason, the public version, was to prevent heresies and to prevent the faithful will worship unauthorized entities. But behind that decision, a deeper and more disturbing truth is hidden. Uriel was not simply an angel. It was a symbol of the celestial knowledge, not mediated by the religious hierarchy. It represented the revelation direct, the fire that illuminates without need for clergy, a bridge between God and the individual, without institutions in half. And that was unacceptable, because the religious authority of the time could not allow themselves to be faithful, will search answers outside the established dogmas. I could not tolerate a messenger who spoke of wisdom, awakening and divine connection, without human filters. Uriel was then linked with mystical, Gnostic and even religious movements, esoteric currents that put in risk the centralized power of the church, and as punishment, his name disappeared. The altars were removed, images destroyed, their mention considered suspicious. Even in many current theological seminaries, his figure is ignored or presented as a marginal curiosity. But it didn't disappear altogether. In the catacombs of Rome, still, there are ancient frescoes where he is represented with a parchment burning. In certain medieval codices, its image between erased lines. And in Ethiopian tradition, for example, Uriel was never eliminated. There, he is still honored as one of the great archangels of the darling, because the truth cannot be destroyed, only hidden. And now that you know what they did with his name, there is only one final question left that we do with this knowledge. Uriel was silenced, erased from the books, exiled from the altars, condemned to oblivion for centuries. But the truth, like light, always find a crack to enter. Today, your name resonates again. In movies, books, digital art and movement symbols, spiritual contemporaries, the figure of Uriel is returning as a beacon for those seeking answers out of the system. It is no longer just a lost biblical character. He is an archetype of awakening, an emblem for those who refuse to live in the darkness. And if you're watching this video up to here, you have been touched by that light. Because Uriel is not just an angel, it is a living metaphor. A flame that burns in every soul that dares to question, investigate and believe beyond what is taught. Maybe it was not deleted by mistake. Maybe his silence was the elderly test, to see who would continue looking for it. And now I ask you, do you think that the spiritual knowledge should be controlled or revealed? Do you believe there are sacred truths that human power has tried to hide? If this story shocked you, share this video with someone who needs to wake up. Leave us your comment. What you think about him, Uriel's return. And if you haven't yet, you have done, subscribe to the channel and activate the Tinker Bell, because every week we reveal mysteries that the powerful would prefer keep hidden. Uriel was silenced, but not by you. You are here, you are listening, and that, dear viewer, is already an act of faith.